We have 4 planets in Scorpio. Schedule a good cry. Schedule a really good cry. Find some time for it. Do some somatic exercises. If you can't twerk, you probably have some trauma in your hips, girl. Twerk it the fuck out. Twerk out the trauma, twerk out the pain. I'm being so serious. As a Scorpio moon, as a water sign, and this is just water sign culture, if I don't cry every so often, I shrivel up like a raisin. It's really Mother Gothel tangled out here, okay? My crying sessions are purifying. It is cleansing. It is good for the soul to cry, and I stand on that. I stand on it. Scorpio energy just has this like constant internal monologue where they are thinking about what could go wrong, who is going to betray me, what is going to hurt, where is the next lesson. It's just this constant overcompensating, right? I can't confidently sit here and say that Scorpio is the most intuitive. However, I can say that Scorpio has the sharpest instincts, right? And I think Scorpio energy can be so uncomfortable because it forces you to face the discomfort. Scorpio forces you to face the corruption. It forces you to face the taboo. It forces you to face the ugly things. That is what Scorpio represents. And Scorpio is Mars ruled. So it shows us how courageous and brave it is to feel what makes us squeamish. Scorpio is going to force you to face your demons, okay? You cannot hide. You cannot hide from yourself with all of this Scorpio energy right now. And as I've said, it's one of the most powerful lunations of this year. And what it's really pushing us to realize is that we have to stop running away from the truth. And there is a reason why the Death card is not the last card of the deck. There's a reason why the Tower card is not the last card of the deck. Right? Death and destruction, darkness, it is not the end. And I think Scorpio comes with a certain kind of clarity. And that's why I say I think Scorpio has sharp instincts. There is a certain kind of clarity in the air right now. You're going to notice your instincts maybe feel sharper. You're going to notice that you're kind of understanding that some things are better left unsaid. And you're going to be feeling more. You're going to be sensing more in a way that you probably don't want to talk about. Scorpio is fixed. And I would say Scorpio is kind of like a layer of ice over kind of like a babbling brook, if you will. Underneath the surface that appears to be iced over, that appears to be stuck and stagnant, underneath the surface, there is a lot shifting. There's a lot happening. There's a lot moving. And so on the surface, from a shallow point of view, nothing is going on. But underneath and internally and inside, there are a lot of things shifting. And so do not get fooled by how things appear on the outside. Really pay attention to those small signals. And what I love about Scorpio energy, because this Scorpio moon, like I said, we are now in the second half of this Mercury retrograde into Mercury retrograde in Scorpio. This period of the Mercury retrograde is really going to be answering questions, answering really important questions. You are not overthinking. You're not actually overthinking right now. You are noticing what's always been there. And I think there is an obsessive quality to Mercury and Scorpio, but a lot of the times there is a real reason why Scorpio is obsessing over that. because there is something that needs to be figured out. There is something that needs to be investigated. There are layers that need to be pulled back. So you're going to be feeling different during the second half of this Mercury retrograde in a way that you can't explain. It's like something is different in the air, but like I don't know exactly what it is and I can't pinpoint it. That likely means this retrograde, this Scorpio new moon, this is probably going to be very relevant for you. There's definitely a sense of like needing to purge right now. And I mean, for me, I literally got sick right before the Scorpio new moon. And I feel like that was my body's way of purging in a sense. But I feel like also Scorpio has this habit of the self-fulfilling prophecy that I was talking about, where they kind of expect pain and they kind of expect that to be the only way that they grow and improve themselves. And I think that this is something that Scorpios have to break in order to really heal, honestly. Like Scorpio really to kind of break their patterns, which I think that this Scorpio energy is really highlighting the patterns that have been sitting right under the surface. Things that you thought you moved on from, things that you thought you had forgotten are going to be coming up during the second half of this Mercury retrograde in Scorpio. I think for Scorpio placements, they're kind of like battle is realizing that not everyone is out to get you. And you don't need to be living in this constant expectation of pain or hurt, right? And I understand where that expectation comes from. I empathize with it. But I think that Scorpios also don't realize that they are also in resistance to a lot of their own growth. And they put themselves in this trap. They put themselves in this box and shut out other possibilities and shut out the rest of the world. Because that's they're safe in their little looking at the same four walls. You know what I mean? Scorpio and Taurus both have these tendencies. So right now, for the second half of this retrograde, your emotional guidance system, your emotional compass, is going to be louder than your logic. And don't be afraid to follow it, right? Don't be afraid to kind of receive that. You know what I mean? I think that emotional logic, if you will, is kind of deprioritized. And I think that that's something that a lot of people have kind of almost subconsciously suppressed. And so this is really a time to get into your flow state. This is really a time to acknowledge what you've outgrown. This is really a time to give up on trying to like explain yourself. This is a time to pull back. And I think a lot of people are also going to be sitting with major revelations that come with this energy. Scorpio energy is going to really pull off the Band-Aid and make you realize that you really need to air out the wound. You need to wear it with pride, in a sense. This Mars energy is really about acknowledging how cool your battle scars are. And I think that'll definitely be felt even more once we get to Saturn and Aries in 2026. Scorpio placements, this is really going to feel like reclaiming your power. Sagittarius placements, this is really going to feel like almost like a psychological analysis and a deep dive on yourself, if you will. And I think that's who it's going to really be hitting most. And your Scorpio and Sagittarius houses in general are really going through this November an excavation, right? For all of us, we're realizing, and you know, Scorpios, the way to break out of your self-fulfilling prophecy is realizing that you do not exist in isolation. You are not the first person to have felt what you have felt. You're not meant to go through the shadows alone. That sounds very simple, but for Scorpios, they tend to not really understand that. Don't downplay your intensity this Mercury retrograde in Scorpio.